Welcome to the Spooky Channel, dedicated to all things creepy and spooky. If you're a fan of spine-chilling stories that keep you up at night, you're in the right place. On this channel, we bring you the most bone-chilling, hair-raising, and downright terrifying stories from around the world. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a creepy story. Now let's get started. My house. In a house built by my grandfather for his first wife, tragedy struck when she fell down the basement stairs and died. Later, my grandmother came into the picture, and they had my mother. However, after my grandfather passed away, my grandmother was left alone in the house. One day, a friend came to visit and expressed interest in buying the house. As she gave him a tour, he handed her his card, and that's when it happened. A deafening crash echoed through the house, emanating from upstairs. The upper level was designed in a square hallway looped around a central pillar, which had a bookcase on its back. The shelves had collapsed inward with such force that books were scattered everywhere, behind beds, in closets, and even in rooms on the opposite side of the pillar. Despite being a skeptic of the supernatural, my grandmother was thoroughly spooked by this unexplainable event. Take the Fall. Late at night, while returning home from watching a play at one of the campus theaters in the Philippines, I was with my friends during my freshman year of college. As we approached the College of Education building, I glanced up at the sky and witnessed a woman plunging from the top floor. I screamed and ran towards the building's front lawn, desperate to assist the woman. But upon arriving, she was nowhere to be found. I was the only one who saw her, as my friends had not felt the same compulsion to look up. As I was wailing, the guard appeared and tried to calm me down, revealing that the woman I had seen was most likely the ghost of a previous jumper who had died on the same day many years ago. The guard's words sent a chill down my spine, leaving me shaken and unsettled. The Room. In the early 1900s, a house was constructed to serve as a residence and clinic for a doctor, where he could attend to patients in the comfort of his own home. However, there's a room at the front of the house that sends shivers down the spines of nearly every visitor. Even my childhood friends recall feeling an unexplainable unease whenever they passed it, some even resorting to running past it. The house layout is designed with a long hallway that leads to an open space, forcing one to walk past every room. It's a claustrophobic setup that has scared off many guests. In 2015, my girlfriend at the time claimed to see snakes and a snarling dog in the room's corners during the dead of night. I too have experienced hallucinations in the form of a lost child and a strange man whom my mother claimed not to know. At night, I always felt accompanied, though no one was there to be seen. Nowadays, when I enter that front room, I feel an icy chill and an inexplicable emptiness. I can't help but wonder about the kind of patience that the original owner had, and whether any of them met their demise within the house's walls. The Furby. In my basement one night during the 7th grade year, I had two friends sleeping over. It was around 4 a.m. and the silence was palpable as we lay down to sleep, the lights off. Suddenly, the voice of my brother's abandoned Furby broke the stillness, its gibberish words creeping into our ears. "Come play with me," it whispered, cackling maniacally. The sound echoed through the basement, sending shivers down our spines. We dismissed it as just the Furby being moved, but I was horrified to discover in the morning that the toy, which didn't even speak English, had no batteries inside. The Watcher. Home alone with my 3-year-old daughter, my husband working late, I felt uneasy, as if someone was watching us. Following our bedtime routine, my daughter informed me of a friend who would stay with her. Curious, I inquired about her friend's identity, and she replied, "Can't you see him, Mommy?" He's standing right behind you in my closet. He's very big. How can you miss him?" We moved less than a year later, unable to shake the feeling of unease. Bloody Mary. One night when I was 9 years old, my friend introduced me to the chilling urban legend of Bloody Mary. We used to summon her in the bathroom and dare each other to see if she would appear. One particular night, I decided to take the dare and ran out of the bathroom before anything happened. Later, when I went to sleep, I was awakened by the sound of footsteps coming up the stairs. I assumed it was my parents, but the footsteps never seemed to reach the top. I then thought it was the tooth fairy, but when I checked under my pillow, my lost tooth was gone. The footsteps grew louder and closer, but there was no one there when I checked. Suddenly, a hand crawled down my forearm and forcefully banged it against the wall, leaving a dent. I was paralyzed with fear as I had no control over my arm. Even after all these years, I can still feel that eerie presence lingering around me. Bedtime. One summer night when I was 8 or 9 years old, my mother commanded me to retire early to bed. Incensed, I screamed at her, "I hate you." She had always warned me never to fall asleep angry for fear of the devil's possession and capture. Slamming my door shut, I turned off the lights and lay down in a rage. Around midnight, I heard tapping on my door and a voice calling my nickname. It resembled my brother's voice, but with a mischievous tone. Assuming it was him, I yelled for him to leave me alone. The voice persisted, taunting me with my name until my mother entered the room and turned on the light. Confused, she asked why I was yelling. As I sat up, I realized that she was the sole person in the room with me. "Your brother is sound asleep in my room," she told me, her face ashen. The clock read 12 a.m., and my room was icy despite my window being shut and the AC off. Something sinister had been lurking in my room that night, and my family remains puzzled by the experience to this day. One thing is for certain, I shall never fall asleep angry again. The basement. In the suburbs, my family and I were uneasy in a totally new environment after moving from the south side of Chicago. My younger brother was particularly nervous and refused to go into the basement or even the stairs leading down to it. Strange things began to happen with me sleepwalking and standing outside my parents' door in the middle of the night. One night, my little brother pointed hysterically at the door that leads to the basement, saying, "It's staring at me." Then I heard someone singing Happy Birthday in the kitchen, but no one was there. I found out it was coming from the vents that all lead to the basement. The last straw was when we couldn't find my little brother and we heard him crying through the vents in the basement. My mom saw a dark shadow shaped like a man down there and told it to leave her family alone. After hanging up crosses and a Virgin de Guadalupe statue, nothing weird happened again. But we still moved out. Touched by the void. Amateur ghost hunting was my passion several years ago, and when my friend told me that her home was haunted, I eagerly accepted the challenge. We started with an EVP session in the master bedroom where my friend's grandparents had passed away. The responses we got to our questions like, "Do you want us to leave?" and "What are you going to do if we don't leave?" were unsettling. Some of us began to feel ill with headaches and stomach pains. In the kitchen where we continued the session, the room grew hot, unseasonably hot for January in New York City. As I closed my eyes and prayed, someone in the group told me that my hands were being pulled apart by an unseen force. When I opened my eyes, I saw a horned shadow creeping up the stairs from the basement. I shouted at it to do its worst, and that I was not afraid. Suddenly, I blacked out and woke up 5 minutes later on the floor. When I left the house, people told me I smelled like ashes and fire. I noticed a painful and hot handprint on my ankle. I went to church and had the mark anointed with holy water. I felt like I was being set on fire. For several weeks after, a member of our group and I had nightmares of being threatened Taunted by a man in a black suit. He who knocks. While lounging in bed engrossed in online videos, I was jolted out of my trance by a knock at my door. I removed my headphones and listened for another, but the only sound that filled the room was the hum of my computer. Shrugging it off, I plugged my headphones back in and resumed watching. Soon after, my video started buffering at an odd time, 6 minutes and 66 seconds. As if that weren't unsettling enough, I then felt a forceful tug at my foot and was dangling off the edge of my bed. I leaped up and frantically searched my room and under my bed, half expecting to find my mischievous sister hiding, but I was alone. Trembling with fear, I fled my room and was met by the sight of a towering, shadowy figure lurking at the end of the hallway. I shut my eyes, counting to 3 before opening them again, only to find the apparition vanished into thin air. Thanks for tuning in to these creepy stories. If you're feeling brave, check out some of our other spooky content. And if you have any scary stories of your own, share them with us in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more spine-tingling tales. Until next time, stay safe and beware of things that go bump in the night.